English. Our English language programs go on air 5 times a day. For details of our schedule, please visit our website at nhk.jp/rj. Please stay tuned.
We bring you the news from NHK World Radio Japan at 8 p.m. Japan time on Friday, April 28th. I'm Yoshi Ogasawara.
And I'm Risa Shimizu.
In our top stories, U.S. President Donald Trump says he wants to solve the problem of North Korea's nuclear and missile programs diplomatically, but it's very difficult.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says he and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed to jointly call on North Korea to refrain from further provocative acts.
And Japan and Russia have agreed to sign 29 deals to move forward on an economic cooperation plan. Now the news in detail. U.S. President Donald Trump says he wants to solve the problem of North Korea's nuclear and missile programs diplomatically, but it's very difficult. Trump spoke with the Reuters news agency at the Oval Office on Thursday, ahead of his 100th day in office on Saturday. He said there's a chance that the United States could end up having a major conflict with North Korea. Trump also said he really feels that Chinese President Xi Jinping is doing everything in his power to help the U.S. with the situation. The U.S. is apparently waiting to see if Chinese pressure on North Korea will resolve the problem. Trump said he has established a very good personal relationship with Xi, and he would not want to cause difficulty right now for the Chinese leader. The remark indicates that the U.S. will refrain from taking steps that would annoy China, such as phone talks with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen for the time being. Trump also referred to the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Missile System now being deployed in South Korea. He called it phenomenal and reaffirmed the U.S. intention to defend South Korea. But he noted that the system costs $1 billion and questioned why the U.S. was paying for it. He said he has informed South Korea it would be appropriate if the nation paid for it.
U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says China has warned North Korea not to conduct any more nuclear tests. Tillerson said in an interview with Fox News on Thursday that there is significant communication going on weekly between the U.S. administration and China. He said China had requested the North Korean regime not to conduct any more nuclear tests and had informed Pyongyang that if it did conduct further tests, China would impose its own sanctions. Tillerson said the U.S. will test China's willingness to help address this serious threat. Tillerson will chair a special ministerial meeting of the UN Security Council on Friday. He said they will discuss the next steps that may be necessary to increase pressure on the North.
North Korean defectors have briefed U.S. lawmakers on human rights abuses in the North and have sought their help to improve the situation. 15 defectors who now live in South Korea met the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Ed Royce, and 13 other lawmakers in Washington on Thursday. They were invited by a support group in the United States. They explained the situation in North Korea, saying that people who escape to China are often sent back by the Chinese authorities and are tortured when they return. The House Committee released a statement after the meeting expressing support for the defectors. The statement says the human rights abuses in the North must end, and the U.S. must help empower North Korean defectors to attain this goal. At a news conference before the meeting, The defectors said that as long as the regime remains in power, the people of North Korea will not have any basic rights or peace. They called for a change of government and appealed for cooperation from the international community.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says he and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed to jointly call on North Korea to refrain from further provocative acts. The two leaders spoke at a joint news conference in Moscow on Thursday after talks earlier in the day. Abe said Russia is a permanent member of the UN Security Council and a vital member of the six-party talks on North Korea's nuclear program. The stalled framework involves Japan, Russia, the United States, China, and North and South Korea. Abe said he and President Putin agreed to maintain close cooperation in urging Pyongyang to fully honor Security Council resolutions and refrain from further aggressive actions. The leaders also talked about joint economic activities on Russian-held islands claimed by Japan. Abe said they agreed to send a survey group of public and private officials to the islands as early as May. He said Japan and Russia will begin a process of making the joint projects concrete. Abe cited farming fish and sea urchins and using the rich natural scenery for tourism as examples of the joint activities. He said the projects will improve the living standards and convenience for Russian islanders. Abe said he hopes the projects will create many new possibilities for Japanese nationals who hope to do business on the islands. He noted former residents of Kunashiri and Habomai, two of the disputed islands, will be allowed to fly there as early as June to visit their ancestral graves. Using Putin's first name, Abe said he and Vladimir want to work towards concluding a peace treaty. Japan and Russia have yet to sign a peace treaty due to the territorial dispute over the four islands. The Japanese government maintains the islands are an inherent part of Japan's territory. It says the islands were illegally occupied after World War II. Abe said Japan and Russia will make many people feel the development of bilateral ties. He said the two sides are working together in the fields of medicine and urban environment. Abe noted that since the joint economic activities were proposed in December, progress has been seen towards the goal he and President Putin set. Abe added the two leaders agreed to meet on the sidelines of the Group of 20 summit in Germany in July and at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok in September.
Japan and Russia have agreed to sign 29 deals to move forward on an economic cooperation plan proposed by Abe last year. Japan's Minister for Economic Cooperation with Russia, Hiroshige Seko, and Russia's First Deputy Prime Minister Igor Shuvalov have agreed on revising a work program for Abe's 8-point economic plan. They will release a joint statement. The revision will include projects such as building a preventive medicine and diagnostic center and boosting support for neonatal care. The 29 agreements and memoranda of understanding will be made at the government, corporate, and other levels. The signings are timed to coincide with the latest summit between Abe and Putin. Japan's Land Ministry and Russia's Construction and Housing Ministry will sign a memorandum to increase cooperation in creating a comfortable urban environment. The authorities of Japan's Yamaguchi Prefecture and Russia's Krasnodar region will strike a deal to encourage cooperation in culture, tourism, and other areas.
You are listening to NHK World Radio Japan in Tokyo. The second round of France's presidential election on May 7th is a one-on-one fight between Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen. In today's edition of Insight, we hear the comments of Nabil Wakim, former head of the political unit at French daily Le Monde. His comments include his analysis of the first-round election results and what to expect from the runoff.
Alors, ces résultats du premier tour de la présidentielle, ils sont très significatifs. C'est la première fois.
The results of the first round of the presidential election carry great significance. It's the first time that the two major political parties, the Socialist Party and Le Républicain Party, failed to send even a single candidate to the runoff. The two parties have dominated French politics until now. In other words, two outsiders who don't belong to any parties that have held the reins of the government are moving on to the final election stage. This was a totally unexpected result which should be taken to heart. As of April 25th, opinion polls suggest that Macron will receive around 60% of the votes in the runoff. This means that Le Pen may get around 40%. Contrary to early predictions, the National Front, which was led by Le Pen, has seen a boost in support. On the other hand, the appeal of anything but the National Front by other parties such as the Républicain did not resonate with voters. It will be difficult for Le Pen to get more than 50% of the votes in the second round. She may win at least as many votes as she did in the first round, but that won't be enough. In order to win the runoff, she needs more than double what she got in the first round. But that seems difficult given how things stand now. There is a chance for her to win the runoff if voter turnout is low. In other words, if many French don't go to polling stations on May 7th, the threshold for winning the runoff would be lower. Le Pen won more than 7.5 million in the first round. If the turnout is around 12 million, she may be able to get more than 50%. So it's not impossible for Le Pen to win the runoff, but the possibility is low.
In today's edition of Insight, we heard the comments of Nabil Wakim, former head of the political unit at the French daily Le Monde. The former chief of school operator Moritomo Gakuen has released an audio recording of his discussions with the finance ministry official about a controversial land deal. The deal became a national scandal after it emerged that then-operator Yasunori Kagoike purchased the state-owned plot of land in Osaka, Western Japan, for an amount well below market value. Kagoike released the recording at a meeting on Friday, organized by members of the main opposition Democratic Party. He says he recorded the conversations that he and his wife had with an official at the finance ministry when they visited its offices in March last year. During their visit, the couple met Yoshihiro Tamura, who headed an office that coordinates issues involving government assets. In the recorded exchanges, Kagoike asked the ministry to deal with waste found buried beneath the plot which Moritomo was leasing at the time. He referred to Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's wife, Akie, who was honorary principal of a school that was to be built on the site. He also mentioned 4 politicians and said they were all angry. Tamura did not respond to the remarks, but he said the ministry's decision to lease the plot instead of selling it, as is the norm, was exceptional. Moritomo Gakuen later purchased the same plot at a price far below the appraised value. The finance ministry says it gave a deduction for the cost of removing the waste. Akie Abe resigned as honorary principal after the scandal broke. At the Democratic Party meeting, Kagoike said he reported to Akie Abe every time he held negotiations with the Regional Finance Bureau over the lease contract. Kagoike said that in hindsight, he believes things started to move quickly because the Prime Minister's wife became the prospective school's honorary principal.
Finally, let's take another look at the top story at this hour. U.S. President Donald Trump says he wants to solve the problem of North Korea's nuclear and missile programs diplomatically, but it's very difficult. And that was the news from NHK World Radio Japan in Tokyo. I'm Yoshio Gasawara.
And I'm Risa Shimizu.
Please stay tuned. This is NHK World Radio Japan.
everyone. Time for Let's Cook Japanese. I'm Sarah McDonald.
And I'm Michael Rees.
In April and May, we are bringing you healthy recipes. We'll introduce cuisine that reduces the risk of lifestyle-related diseases.
Our topic this month is high blood pressure prevention. It's helpful to cut salt intake to ward off this health issue. So joining us to take us through today's low-sodium recipe is our culinary authority, Akiko Watanabe.
こんにちは、渡辺明子です。今日作るのは減塩照り焼きチキンです。
Hello everyone, I'm Akiko Watanabe. We are going to make low-sodium teriyaki chicken. We've already introduced a teriyaki chicken recipe in a past program, but in today's recipe, we'll cut the sodium content in half, without sacrificing flavor.
First, the ingredients for low-sodium teriyaki chicken. This recipe serves 4 people, and you will need 500 grams or 2 boneless chicken thighs with skin, some potato starch, and 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil for cooking the chicken. For the teriyaki sauce, you will need 50 milliliters of apple juice, 1 1/3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vinegar, and 5 grams of ginger.
Let's begin. First, prepare the chicken thighs for cooking. Spread a chicken thigh with its skin facing down on a cutting board. Cut the chicken in half at its hollow center. Do the same for the other chicken thigh to make 4 fillets. Chicken thighs are thick, so if you cook them as they are, the meat will shrink and it will be difficult to cook through. So let's make each fillet thinner.
Butterfly each fillet from the center to the sides, slicing into the thick part without cutting all the way through. Make sure to check the thickness of the meat and cut one side at a time, adjusting the knife as you need to keep it even.
包丁を寝せて手前に引くようにして切っていきますが、刃先のところを使いながら
Hold the knife parallel to the cutting board and make a slit in the fillet, moving the blade towards you. To cut evenly, use the tip of the blade and cut little by little.
After you butterfly, open it up. Make similar cuts to the other side of the chicken and open it up as well. This style of cutting symmetrically from the center to the sides is called kannon biraki in Japanese. The name comes from the storage cases used to house the Buddhist statue of Kannon. The way their doors open, like French doors, is the same from the center to the sides.
Now you have a chicken fillet with double the surface area and half the thickness. Cut all 4 pieces the same way. Spread potato starch inside a cooking tray and place the fillets on top.
Cover both sides of each fillet with the potato starch. For a thin and even layer, use plenty of potato starch, then pat it off. Next, mix the seasonings to make teriyaki sauce. The sauce is the key part of today's recipe. Teriyaki sauce is usually made with soy sauce and sugar as the main ingredients, but soy sauce is high in sodium, so instead we'll halve the normal amount of soy sauce and use apple juice, vinegar, and grated ginger. Seasonings like these with strong aroma and flavors embolden the dish, making them very useful in low-sodium cooking.
Put the soy sauce and sugar into a small bowl. Then add the vinegar, grated ginger, and apple juice and stir to combine. Now the sauce is ready. Let's start cooking the chicken.
Use a large frying pan to cook the fillets all at once. The potato starch absorbs oil, so use a little more oil than usual. When the frying pan has warmed up, place the fillets inside with the skin facing down.
Cook the chicken on medium heat, moving the fillets around to brown them evenly. Browning the fillets gives the meat a luster that makes it look and smell delicious. When the fillets have become a beautiful golden brown color, flip them over. Put a lid over the frying pan to make sure the meat is cooked through. Cook for another 4 minutes on low heat.
焼けたでしょうか、見てみましょう。一番身の厚いところ
Let's see
に
if the fillets are done. Insert a fork or skewer in the thickest part. If the juice that flows out is clear, it is cooked.
When the fillets are cooked, turn off the heat and remove them from the pan.
Wipe out the pan to remove excess chicken fat, because excess oil will make it difficult to coat the fillets in teriyaki sauce. That's our next step.
Pour the sauce into the frying pan. The sugar inside the sauce tends to sink to the bottom, so mix well beforehand. Warm up the pan on low heat. When the sauce starts to boil, return the fillets to the pan. Since the chicken is already cooked, all you have to do is bathe them in the sauce.
Flip
over the fillets to make sure the sauce completely covers each one. The potato starch coating helps to thicken the teriyaki sauce.
When the fillets are completely covered in the sauce, take them out with the skin facing up. After they have cooled a bit, cut the chicken into strips 1 centimeter wide and arrange them on a plate. Add greens such as lettuce, broccoli and cucumber and a lemon wedge.
Although
this recipe is low in sodium, the teriyaki chicken has an enticing aroma and savory umami flavor. This sauce is low in sodium, but if you coat the surface of the chicken with it, it satisfies the taste buds. Make full use of seasonings such as vinegar, lemon, wasabi, and spices like hot pepper in your daily diet to help reduce sodium intake.
Let's go through today's recipe once more. This low-sodium teriyaki chicken recipe serves 4 people. You need 500 grams or 2 boneless chicken thighs, some potato starch, 1 tablespoon of oil, 50 milliliters of apple juice, 1 1/3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vinegar, and 5 grams of ginger.
First, spread out the chicken thighs on the cutting board. Cut each thigh in half at the hollow section to make 4 fillets in total. To even out the thickness of each fillet, slice from the thick part of the chicken at the center toward the sides. Open up the cuts, doubling the fillet surface. When you have cut all 4 fillets in the same manner, cover them with plenty of potato starch and pat off the excess.
In a small bowl, prepare the teriyaki sauce. Pour in the apple juice, soy sauce, sugar, vinegar, and grated ginger and mix. In a large frying pan, spread the oil and place the chicken with the skin facing down. Move the fillets around a bit, cooking at medium heat until they become a beautiful golden brown. Flip them over and put a lid on the frying pan to cook at low heat for 4 more minutes. When you insert a skewer or fork in the chicken and its juice comes out clear, take the fillets out of the pan.
Wipe out excess fat from the frying pan and pour in the teriyaki sauce. When the sauce has become warm, return the cooked fillets to the pan and coat them with the teriyaki sauce. When the sauce has become thicker and covers the fillets, take them out with the skin facing up. When the chicken has cooled a bit, cut the meat into strips 1 centimeter wide. Arrange them on a plate with green vegetables and a lemon wedge, and the teriyaki chicken is complete.
Time now for Catch of the Day, a segment that will boost your enjoyment from cooking. Today, we'll share some ideas for low-sodium meals.
Salt helps to make food taste good, but too much sodium intake can lead to health problems, such as high blood pressure and heart disease. Although washoku, or Japanese cuisine, is regarded as healthy, it is surprisingly high in sodium. Japanese people on average consume 11 grams of sodium per day. The WHO, or World Health Organization, recommends less than 5 grams of salt intake per day.
5 grams is about 1 teaspoon. Trying to reduce salt intake on its own is likely to diminish the pleasure you get from food. Even if you understand that eating less salt is good for you, maintaining a low-sodium diet can be a challenge.
In today's low-sodium teriyaki chicken recipe, the teriyaki sauce contains half the sodium of a normal recipe, but it is still delicious because of the apple juice, vinegar, and ginger. Using ingredients with strong flavors like these is one way to stick to a low-sodium diet.
Another suggestion is to use soy sauce more effectively. Although it is high in sodium, soy sauce contains only 1/5 the amount of sodium of salt itself. Because of its unique flavor, just adding a small amount can be satisfying.
A little bit of knowledge can help you reduce your sodium intake. We asked our culinary expert Akiko Watanabe how she uses less salt in her daily cooking.
和食では煮物も多いんですが、煮物ってどうしても塩分が高くなりがちなんですね。
In Japanese cuisine, there is a variety of stewed and boiled dishes that tend to be high in sodium, especially when we want the ingredients in the stew to absorb flavors to their very core. So recently, I've been stewing ingredients in Japanese dashi broth and add seasonings only when making the finishing touches, adding flavor to the surface of the food.
Because the surface of foods is the first place our tongues touch and taste, as long as the food surface is well flavored, a dish will taste delicious. Watanabe also has another idea.
一緒に摂るといいカリウムがたくさん含まれている野菜をなるべく多くするようにしてます。
I try to eat as many potassium-rich vegetables and fruits as I can, because potassium helps break up excess salt. Potatoes, apples, and bananas are all good sources of this nutrient.
And apple juice was an ingredient in today's recipe.
Potassium gets rid of excess salt inside our bodies when taken with water.
There are so many great ideas for healthy eating. In Japan, low-sodium cooking classes and websites that feature low-sodium recipes are popular. We hope you can all make an effort to consume less salt and stay healthy.
You've been listening to Let's Cook Japanese. We hope you'll tune in again next time. From our studios at NHK in Tokyo, I'm Sarah McDonald.
And I'm Michael Reese.
We'd like to close our program with a song. This is On Time by Hanaregumi.
'You're listening to NHK World Radio Japan, broadcasting from Tokyo. Here's a frequency notice. English language programs are broadcast 5 times a day. At 5 hours UTC on 11.970 and 5.975 megahertz. At 11 hours on 11.695. At 14 hours on 11.705 and 11.935. At 18 hours on 9.755. And at 19:30 hours on 9.710 and 9.480. We're always pleased to receive your comments and suggestions via mail or through our website at nhk.jp/rj.